Hey, everybody. Welcome to Climb the Ladder for our 120th episode presented by Washed Up Network. I'm your co host, Hunter, and my equally good looking twin brother, Duncan, is sitting right here with me. Thank you to everybody who's been tuning in each week. We're so excited because we are in playoff baseball and it has been electric so far. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review us on iTunes and Spotify. Plus, you can see two of the same face when you head over to YouTube. This episode is brought to you guys by Rugged Roots, who brings us the best in beard products. Use code LADDER20 at ruggedroots.com for 20% off your purchase. As always, let's climb the ladder.
Good morning, everybody. Doing another wake up with CTL edition. Got
Wake up with
some,
CTL.
got some Delanos in the cup. Shout out to Hannah and her coffee company. And no better way to start the day than a little coffee and podcast. So, yeah, we wanted to come to you with some real time updates across the league, really focusing on our Mariners, who are one game into the ALDS, embarking on game two in Houston tonight. But let's backtrack a little bit before we got to the ALDS. We'll recap a little bit and then talk about game one before we get people out of here this morning.
Yeah, we got to start with the wild card series. In my opinion, I'm glad that we made it there. I think all the teams that made it were really good teams. I like the new format that they're going with for the playoffs instead of the one game like tiebreaker how it was and has been. But um ultimately when it boils down to it, it's more playoff baseball.
Yeah, I think that this is the format that should have always been because I get the one card, playing game sort of thing, but really if you're looking at playoffs and across any professional sport, like you have NBA that has one of the longest playoffs. Now MLB is a little bit longer, hockey is a long one. Even college football as they're talking to expanding to more teams. Like
Taking note out of the playbook.
you gotta have you got to have an extended playoff to really get those games in. It gets more of the fan base engaged, where now you have, in MLB, almost half of the teams with their fan base getting excited for a chance. We knocked off the Blue Jays, who were a preseason favorite, and we don't know where we'll go from here, but we took two games in a really exciting fashion in the first year of this format. I think it's the way to go.
Yeah, and also, there's a lot of points, and we'll get more and more into game one of the division series. But rest versus rust. We finished the season on a Wednesday, and we had game one of the wild card series on Friday in Toronto. Um, Came out swinging in that game in game one, in Toronto. Friday afternoon is what it ended up being for which we have a lot of points to get to about the game, about the gameplay, but what is up with these times? I
Yeah,
mean,
I'm a
the
very
Mariners
grateful
are a West
fan.
Coast team, other than the Dodgers and Padres, they're both NL West teams, so they kind of get priority for their viewership, for their fan base, but we're getting screwed on these game times.
Yeah, I'm all for making the playoffs. Like, it's awesome to finally be there. But the one gripe I've got is we got to figure out these times, because when you're doing a West Coast team at 1 o'clock, it's not like that's helping the East Coast teams either, because it's still during their workday.
It's still
So
3 o'clock, three
yeah, I don't
thirty.
really get it. That's got to be figured out. I get that there's already existing shows on different networks, and I'm like, if you're TBS or ESPN, you move the other shows around to get these games in, because if you have them at 6 p.m. local, 8 o'clock Eastern, or yeah, that's about good time. Six or yeah, 8 or 9 o'clock Eastern. They don't really care about the West Coast games, and you get so much more viewership.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think we're going to get screwed the rest of the MLB playoffs because both the NL and AL, the Padres and Dodgers will get whittled down to what we would expect to be the Dodgers, but the Padres tied it up on Wednesday. So the series is tied 1-1. But after the Padres and Dodgers, one of them gets it, there will only be two West Coast teams. It'll be the M's and either the Padres or the Dodgers. The rest, will either be playing the Guardians or the Yankees, and then the Dodgers or Padres will play the Phillies or the Braves. So game times are definitely not in our favor.
Yeah, I
the
could
the
agree
cool
with that.
part, the really cool part about that has been being able to listen to it during the workday. I've had the whole thing on in my earbuds on the radio broadcast. I've said a lot this season. I'm totally back all in for the radio broadcast. Love the M's guys. A lot better than the ESPN color commentary that we
Yeah,
get
because
because nobody
then you get
knows
the
anything about the
local,
Mariners.
yeah, you get the local personalities, you get the people who actually have, knowledge of the team. And they were actually talking about that at the first wild card game. They're like, hey, the broadcast is going to be different. We don't know as much about the teams as what you're probably used to hearing. And I'm like, well, at least they said it, because the worst is when they act like it. But let's go back to game one of the wild card. You mentioned the bats were swinging. The Blue Jays did not even have a chance in this game.
Oh, for sure. Friday night came out and literally kept our foot hammered on the gas. Didn't let up. We won 4-0 on that Friday night. Looked good. Castillo was lights out. He was throwing, I don't have the stats in front of me, but it's something like I don't know how many times he hit 103, but he was I think 108 or 110 pitches into the game, and he was still throwing 98 and 99 when they took him out.
Yeah, I couldn't believe the way that he was dealing. And then, of course, everybody reverts back to the trade deadline. They're talking about, well, looks like it was worth it. Looks like Castillo's paying off. And it's like, I mean, this game or not, he's been awesome, but that just proved like, okay, do you have the tools to make a postseason run? Check that box, yes. And that took us into game two with quite the momentum, but also a little bit of chip on the Blue Jays' shoulders. They were not supposed to have somebody come into their house with Vladdy Jr. and all the tools that they had and be walked all over in game one, especially with the break that they thought helped. But we were carrying so much momentum from even the Friday before with the Cal Rally walk off. And even though that wasn't the last game of the season, we were just riding high. And I think that we just carried that into game one, which led to game two, which was a bit of a crazy one to get the ALDS berth.
Yeah, seriously. And I mean, getting into now game two of the division series. Um, Going back to Castillo, he's had a week off. He will be nice and rested. And I just have to throw out some stats from his stellar performance. He went 7 and a third innings last Friday in game one of the wild card. His fastball velocity was up 1.5 miles per hour faster than his average all year long, and his sinker was up 1.7. He hit triple digit pitches 5 times. I don't see the number of pitches. Um, there was only 4 balls that were hit off of him that the the exit velocity was over 95 miles per hour. And
Dang.
Toronto had the fourth in the league for exit velo all season long. And he didn't give up any extra base hits, which is crazy. I mean, he was lighting a fire on these balls, throwing them past these people. Um, he hit 98 or higher. So, like I said, 98, 99. I think it was right around 61% of his pitches.
Wow.
That's insane. How does your arm not fall off? But really excited to see him go at it against the Astros. I was going to say tonight, but it'll be 12:37 local. Um, but I don't know if anything else from the Blue Jays series, 2-game sweep. Oh, well, we have to just say how the series finished.
Yeah, we got to talk about game two and the third greatest comeback in postseason history. Definitely not
Best by
something
a road team.
most by a road team. That's awesome. Um, just crazy. I mean, I got to watch that game, and it was just surreal to sit there thinking, okay, and I was like very live and active on Twitter. It was one of those where you just want to see, okay, what are we seeing here from the fan base? What needs to change? Most people in the fourth or fifth inning kind of collectively agreed, hey, we're going to wrap this one up. Let's save our arms. Let's come back and finish strong tomorrow. And then the sixth inning happened, about a half hour later. And coming from the deficit of 8-1, I mean, that number will be remembered for life for many Mariners fans. But the fight that this team has, they just kept chipping away. And you could see probably after we scored 3 or 4 runs that the Blue Jays were starting to shake a little. We had them on their heels, momentum had shifted, and the Mariners had a long way to go, from down 8-4, but there was still a chance. And when we tied it up 9-9, I could not believe what I just saw.
Dude, I mean this was one of those classic Mariners feeling of a game where it's like, well, turn it off. I don't know what we're gonna do. But like also that's how we felt for the last 21 years. But you know that this team stays in, you know that it's different. So I had it on the radio again, big radio pump, and I heard the runs or the bats starting to go around, you know, um, handing the baton one guy after another in the seventh. And I was outside working in the yard. Went inside. I was like, had a big work party over at the house. I was like, okay, everybody, we're going in. We're watching the last 3 innings of the game. Went in the seventh. Then in the eighth, it was 8-5. And then I was like, wow, we're doing something here. Pass the baton. And I feel like we almost batted around. It was so good. And then the ninth came, and I was like, dude, like we got something to work with. And I could not believe it. Like just when you need him up to bat, big dumper.
It's crazy, and it got a little scary there at the end, especially in the bottom of the ninth. Like, okay, we just got to get the outs, and that'll take us into game one of the ALDS here in a minute. But man, just the pure rush of excitement. Like, okay, we already had that to clinch the playoffs, but now we're moving through the playoffs. Like, the bracket is continuing on, and knowing that we were going to take two in a row and not even have to worry about a game three, that just felt good. That was what we've needed as a fan base. Two statement wins to show, hey, this wasn't by chance. We didn't sneak into the playoffs, but we're here to actually make a splash. Um, you talk about the perfect amount of time to form a comeback down 7, 4 innings. From the sixth to the ninth inning, they just consistently chipped away, couple runs here, couple runs here, and the Blue Jays didn't expect that to happen. But unlike the regular season where you have 162 games to play, this is the postseason. If you lose, you're probably going to be out, and they saw that and made it happen. So it was just a great wild card series, and there's no feeling like that.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. It's playoff baseball. It's a different breed of the game. I mean, you see a lot of different stuff. You have to prepare for a lot of different things. But dude, to chip away at it, like you said, was it was just what you have to do. Like with the Mariners, I feel like you're not going to get it all at once, but they're going to get the job done, and they really showed it in that game
Definitely.
too. And not having to be tied 1-1 and play a game 3 in Toronto. I mean, I heard some really good points made about the fan noise and the like interaction and stuff. And part of it being that the fans filling T-Mobile Park in these last couple months, really the last month, I would say, has helped the Mariners prepare for the noise and the crowd distraction really, and to be able to hype that up and play with it, not just try to play through it.
Yeah, and knowing that that support was there with like half a stadium full just for a watch party on Friday and Saturday, that was pretty cool to see because they kept streaming back to T-Mobile Park. And looking here, before we get into this rally shoe, the Blue Jays had a 99.1% chance to win at one point in the game. So to flip that and be able to pull that off in front of their crowd and just leave them stunned, that was awesome. But before we get into the ALDS, let's talk about the rally shoe. Where did that come from? Why did it happen?
Yeah, so I was like going through Twitter, I was like, what in the heck? And I was like, we need some background on it. Well, T-Mobile Park hosted a watch party. It was $10 tickets to watch the wild card series that was being played in Toronto at T-Mobile Park with a bunch of fans, and they needed it. And
It looked like a full-on game. Like if you look at attendance from 5 years ago, I bet there's more people at this watch
oh
party.
yeah, no doubt. And so this fan just put his people thought it was his shoe, it was his wife's Birkenstock. Put put it on his head, nice and flat, like the drink carrier. Um, lemonade, yeah. And and uh then they started hitting the ball and they started scoring runs. So he left the shoe on his head for the last 3 innings. And they found him with the camera at T-Mobile Park, and they came up and interviewed him after the win, and he signed the side of the Birkenstock, and it's entered into the Mariners Hall of Fame.
That's incredible. I saw them pan over, and I remember the announcer saying, and it looks like the rally caps have come out, and somebody might have a shoe on their head too. And I don't think anybody thought anything of it because I think that was in the sixth inning. And then I think by the seventh or eighth, like half the stadium had shoes on their head. And then
Yeah.
I started seeing it on Twitter and Instagram. People were like, put the shoes on, put the shoes on. And all of a sudden, it like, I mean, national sensation. It became a thing. So I bet we see a lot of shoes for the rest of the series.
Yeah. And to have a thing as a fan base to propel you through the playoffs is huge. To have that symbol, I mean, when all else fails, you go to the rally shoe. Yeah,
Yeah.
rally cap, like, and now with the fitted, like the new era hats, everybody goes shark because you
Yeah.
can't turn a new era 5950 inside out. But dude, that's it. I mean, the fact that literally in the matter of an hour, the game turned around and that shoe's in the Mariners Hall of Fame alongside Edgar Martinez, Ken Griffey Jr., and Ichiro, that's pretty big.
That's awesome. And that's the Mariners fan base for you. It's different, it's edgy, it's exciting. And I think that takes us into game one of the ALDS and then keys for game two. What did you see in game one? Obviously, the script was flipped. We had probably the 99.8% chance as we led the entire game for game one, literally until the last out of the ninth inning. What went wrong there, and how do we right the ship tonight in game two?
Yeah. I I will say you asked what I saw. I listened to the entirety of the game on the radio, except for the bottom of the ninth inning, and I think that might be where things went wrong. I know baseball's a very superstitious sport, but I stand by it. I'm gonna listen to all of the game on the radio today. Um, in game one, I mean, we have to get out early. It proved in game one of the wild card series. We just have to get out ahead early. But other than, get out, get ahead early, swing the bat, I really think the pitching is a really big thing. We have to get after their pitchers. To rock Justin Verlander the way that we did, a veteran, he's been in the playoffs with multiple teams, has a proven track record of success. I mean, we just have to get to their pitcher and we just need to keep hitting it. It doesn't even have to be home runs. We just need to be consistent and have guys on base because even though all season we left a lot of guys on base, we got to move them around. And if we can get guys on base, I think that turns up the dial for our home run hitting.
Yeah. And the nice thing is, if we can chip away, be consistent, base hits throughout the early part of the game, we don't need those big home runs that might happen or you're swinging for the fence. We just need to be consistent. And we saw that work in the wild card series. And we had such a good lead on game one. We were up 4-0 at one point, had Verlander on his heels. Verlander was out by the fifth inning, which I was shocked, but that's awesome. Like, that's what we need to do. And one thing I'll say is people have been taking one side or the other for Scott Service, saying, bad decision on who you're putting in at pitching. It's not all on Scott, because at some point, whatever pitcher's called to the mound has to follow through. They have to be the guy. They have to know, hey, my number's been called in the postseason and I have to come through. And none of our pitchers did. There's the conversation: do you leave Seawald in? Well, Seawald soiled in the wild card series. They put Ray in. Ray was not the move, for the last out of game one, but that's behind us. So now we have to look, okay, we got to trust Scott and the decisions that he's making, and whatever pitcher is called in, they have to make it happen. And we can't let up, we can't give them a middle to give an opportunity for a walk-off. When we're the away team, we know that we don't have the last say. There's always a chance. And we saw that happen in game one, unfortunately. So I agree, keys to the game: consistency at the plate and runs early and often. We have to get out ahead of it. By the third or fourth inning, we've got to have 4 or 5 runs. And then to follow that up, we can't let up. We got to keep it going. We got to keep piling it on, get the offense going, and make smart plays on defense.
Yeah, I was gonna say in addition, um, to just scoring early, you also said often if we get runs, we ought to keep it going.
Yeah, it's so important these days because you never know what'll happen, and hits are contagious.
Yeah, and I mean we scored, four pretty early of game one of this one too. But we have to add on to that. We need some insurance. We sat at 7 runs for a while. It was 7-3, then it was 7-5, and then of course we lost 8-7. So to get some runs in the end of the game, I will say one of the keys has been the bottom of our lineup. That 7-8-9, Frazier, Kelnick, JP Crawford, setting it up to get back to the top and have Julio up to have a chance to go yard and bring some guys in. If there's one guy, two guys on base, three, maybe we'll see a grand slam. Who knows?
Yeah, I'm just excited because as much as the whole country hates the Astros, there's no denying they're a good team. And they got the number one seed. They got to where they're at because they're a good team in the American League. They were the second best team in all of baseball. So to me, that makes an even sweeter opportunity to take this series from them. People don't want them here. People didn't want them here at all. They had a slow start to the season. We thought, well, maybe the Astros are frauds. Maybe they're not going to make it. And they proved us wrong in that process. But if we can come out of Houston today with a win, we get 2 games at home this weekend. If we can make it so that we don't have to go back to Houston next week for game 5, my plan and the ideal picture would be win Thursday, win Saturday, clinch Sunday. If we can clinch it at home in front
Clinch
of
it
a
at
fan
home.
base that hasn't seen postseason baseball in over 20 years, that would be the sweetest victory. And then give us the Yankees, give us the team that we can take down and get to the World Series with. Like, if this could be the Cinderella story, I'm all here, and let's start writing it tonight.
Yeah, and I think America would be behind the M's, no doubt. Um, so today, game two, just got to get by Framber Valdez for Houston. He got the nod for Thursday's game, and I mean, we just gotta take care of business at the plate. We got to go out swinging.
Yeah, and I saw talk for game 3, which I get to attend this weekend to celebrate our birthday. Happy early 26, Hutch. I don't know if you're feeling aches and pains yet, but bring on 26. Looks like, was it Kirby that gets the nod for
They
3?
haven't announced for the M's. They announced it for Houston for game 3.
I
Kirby
think
will
they
likely
announced last night.
Oh, maybe they did.
Let's
I saw
see.
Lance McCullens for Houston, and I thought the speculation was Kirby for game 3.
Yep, looks like confirmed last night.
Okay,
Um,
updated.
Kirby will start Mariners' first home playoff game since 2001. Mariners will ride their star rookie pitcher into their first playoff game in
What
20
an
years.
electric guy to have on the mound. 24 years old. I mean, that's like hard to fathom. Think we had
Crazy.
just got out of college. We're just trying to figure everything out, and this guy is pitching in front of, well, we'll see what it's actually like because you'll be able to recap for us. Who would have thought when we talked to Ryan last week that you'd be at the first Mariners home playoff game
Yeah.
in two
And
decades?
I was thinking about it, my first game at T-Mobile Park in a few years. I got to see the Mariners play the Angels in Anaheim, I think last summer, but holy cow, like I haven't been to a Mariners game at home for a long time. And to be able to do a day trip, shout out to the new in-laws for the awesome birthday present. But man, doing a day trip on Saturday, get to witness game 3 in person up on the 300 level behind home plate, so just the picture perfect view of the city. Looks like Seattle might be putting on a show for this too. Little 80-degree weather on October 15th, which you can correct me if I'm wrong because you've been there for all of them, but have we ever had a sunny birthday in Seattle?
I really don't think so. And if it was like 45 or 50 degrees.
Yeah, right.
This is gonna be nice. Don't get me wrong. You said that you land in the morning. The mornings have been crispy, and the nights, I mean, the sun starts to go down, boom, it's cold. But middle of the day, what is it, a 107 start
Yeah.
on Saturday the 15th is going to be money.
The chill will have just worn off. Brunch will be settling just in time for a stadium Bodie. And I mean, you talk about ballpark eats. You know, if I were at the ballpark, fill in the blank. Like I haven't been to T-Mobile for a long time, and
Yeah.
I haven't even been there since it was named T-Mobile, I don't think. So
Yeah.
this is big for me. Really excited, but same here, like 47 degrees right now. High was 78 yesterday. So, I mean, people say that fall's not the best season. They're crazy because fall is the best. You get the best
Yeah.
of both worlds. I mean, right now to be a sports fan, you've got hockey that just started up. You've got the NFL, which is a month and a half in, and postseason baseball, which I will say having your team in the postseason is 1,000 times better because
This is
usually we
way
don't.
different than we've ever experienced.
Yeah, usually it's like, okay, cool, this team's moving on. We'll see you, a couple weeks in the World Series. But being fully into baseball at this point in October, I mean, our birthday has never had meaningful baseball, and that's about to change this weekend.
I know. That's insane. I can't believe it. Dunk, you're gonna be up on the 300 level. You gotta go find. There's only I think one location in the whole stadium, and it's like fair food type at the ballpark. So you can get a long like a long deep fried corn dog.
Mm.
You can get like a funnel cake, and I mean, we've talked about it time and time again. Started when we couldn't even go to the ballpark. You got to go in, you got to just drop the coin, get the expensive Bodie. And then after that, they sell big wave cans for
Mhm.
$6, or you can get an MGD for I think $4.
Nice. I might opt up for the big wave can for a couple more bucks.
And hey, since it's gonna be cold, bring a or I mean, it's gonna be hot, so to keep your beer cold, bring a koozie because
Smart.
underrated. If you don't get the big 24 ouncer, if you get the little not at the concession stand, but at the little beer kiosk the guy with the cart full of ice.
Yeah.
You get tall boys. And by the time you get to the bottom of that thing, the beer gets warm. And as we know from our friends at Georgetown Brewing, warm beer sucks. So
Yes.
have a koozie in your back pocket, 100%.
I might bring a reserve, and then I am planning on hitting the team store, trying to get myself one of those on field postseason patch caps. Gotta have one of those for the game if I
Oh,
can,
yeah.
if they're not sold out. But I might snag a little Mariners koozie action while I'm there too.
Yeah, no doubt. Really excited for you. I'll be out of town this weekend. Otherwise, I would be there right next to you cheering them on. But I can't wait to get the updates, have it on the radio, and let's go M's.
Yeah, well, we'll make sure to get you there for the ALCS when they make the berth, and hopefully in the process you can fill the freezer while you're out in the great mountains of the Cascades.
Yeah, going deer hunting this weekend and hoping to drop something on the birthday. That'd be an all-time birthday present.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Well, we're here, we're in it. This is like, I mean, this is probably the most exciting baseball episode that we've had, probably right behind the one that we had with Ryan last week to, talk about actually making it into the postseason. But man, what a ride! Whatever happens this weekend, I have faith in the Mariners. I know that they can play and show off in front of a home crowd, but this has just been awesome. And you know, no need to
Who would
talk
have
about.
thought when we started this 2.5 years ago? Who would have thought that the Mariners would be making the playoffs 120 episodes into this thing?
Yeah, and the exciting thing is this is the first year of many that we're going to be contenders, and Mariners will be talked about in the postseason for a long time. So
For a
it's
long
exciting to be
time.
part of it. Also exciting that we don't need to hop outside the diamond or talk about other stuff this episode, because that all can wait. Football season's long. But hey, it's postseason, baby, and we're here for it.
We're here for it. Excited that you're going to be at the game on our birthday. Happy 26th, Dunk. And go M's.
Yeah, happy 26th. Exciting weekend all around. And yeah, big updates to come next week, especially depending on what happens this weekend. So thanks
Yeah,
everyone
and
for.
you guys have seen me live from T-Mobile Park. It's about to be Duncan's turn.
Yeah, I'll do a little Hunter style vlog for the people.
Take a page out of the playbook.
There you go. Thanks everyone for waking up with CTL. Always a good mix up, and always got to have a little Delano's in the cup. So it doesn't get better than that.
A little bit of energy to get the day going, and thanks for waking up with us.
Right on. Well, as always, go Mariners, and let's
Let's
climb
climb
the
the
ladder.
ladder.